Hello everyone. In this video, we're picking out and sharing the latest topics about Asia. From one of the most famous Reddit-style forums in Japan. Even if you don't understand Japanese, we've translated everything into English subtitles and audio. So you can join the conversation as if you were in Japan. So, let's dive into the discussions happening in Japan. The number of Chinese people living in Japan is increasing every year. The Chinese community in Japan has been rapidly transforming recently, mainly due to the influx of wealthy people from China. Without us even realizing it, the Chinese have established their own economic zone within Japan. This whole trend is referred to in Chinese as Yitiao or Chinese-style ecosystem. In tourist spots and hotels across Japan, nearly all related businesses are run by Chinese companies or individuals.
It's fine if they're paying corporate or income tax, but I doubt they are. The tax authorities have no way of tracking their income, you know. I'd be okay with it if it were happening gradually, but it's just too blatant. First, the Korean economy will crash, then the Chinese economy. Surprisingly, North Korea might outlast those two countries. You can blame Japan's money-worshipping politicians for this one. This is just the usual Chinese way of invading. This is what happens when you keep letting them in without thinking. Tourism is one thing, but construction is scary. There are so many things they could do without us noticing. We can't inspect every single building, they're just too big. They might intentionally use harmful materials like asbestos. Stuff you can't see, like in the ceiling. It's not just Chinese people. But their kids aren't sent to Japanese schools either. They don't learn the language and don't integrate into society. China's economy back home is already in shambles. It's like Japan and America are China's life support. They can't make a living in China, so they're expanding elsewhere. The Chinese diaspora. They're known for their relentless pursuit of human desires. For better or worse, if you're just being naive, you'll get eaten alive. Overseas Chinese from Taiwan are somewhat okay. But how do you tell them apart from those from the mainland? By their fashion sense. Mainland Chinese dress like they're from North Korea. So true. A lot of mainlanders dress like waiters at a barbecue restaurant. Then why don't the Japanese learn Chinese? We should make Korean and Chinese our second official languages. Around here, even the large delivery depots are full of Southeast Asians. They're chatting loudly in their language on the streets, so annoying. There's a huge increase in apartments filled with Chinese groups. It won't just affect everyday life for Japanese people in the future. It'll influence politics too. Of course, it's expected. Since China's become a super repressive, declining dictatorship, with the economic bubble burst, everyone from the rich to migrant workers is fleeing China for places like Japan and other countries around the world. Under communism, the concept of land ownership doesn't exist. That's why even small-time rich people buy land overseas. China is being abandoned by its own people. Even they recognize that countries like Japan and those in the West are better. So they're fleeing there. Even if we increase defense spending, if all the Chinese in Japan rise up at once in a crisis, can the current police force handle it? Are we going to have the self-defense forces maintaining public order too? Shouldn't there be a cap on the number of foreigners from a national defense standpoint? Apparently, a quarter of Thailand's population is of Chinese descent. It's only a matter of time before it becomes a country led by the Chinese diaspora. Forget immigration policy, the real issue is that there's a black market economy in Japan, where people use WeChat Pay and don't pay any consumption or income tax. It's worse than Yakuza businesses running on cash, even if they say it's not related to the Chinese Communist Party. Even if they pretend, forming communities like this is exactly what's unsettling about China. They'll always act in China's interest. Eventually, there will be a civil war in Japan, and the Japanese will lose. Before long, Chinese residents in Japan will lead a movement to overthrow the CCP and democratize China. Their goal isn't to live in Japan, it's to take over. There are countless Chinese people here who don't need to learn Japanese to do their jobs. There are tons of Chinese-Japanese couple channels on Chinese websites. It's surprising. And apparently, the really talented Chinese people don't come to Japan. It's those who either ran away or failed in China's college entrance exams who choose Japan. If China invades Taiwan, Japan will be forced to deport the Chinese living here. Why are they even bothering? It's not a waste. They're gathering information, preparing for an uprising, and engaging in sabotage. Japan will be peacefully absorbed by China. The Japanese will become part of the Chinese nation. Lucky you. The CCP will confiscate their sales in Japan. The other day, I went to change the ownership of a bike at the Land Transport Bureau. And there was a Chinese guy who couldn't even speak proper Japanese. The staff was trying to explain, "We can't proceed without proof of a parking space. Please go to the police and get it." He spent over an hour arguing, saying things like, "You sort it out." If this kind of thing keeps increasing, it's going to be a real problem.
Did you find this video interesting? We'll keep bringing you fun topics from Japan's online community. Please subscribe to the channel and drop some comments.